All right, guys, so we got another build coming your way in addition to the 991 build, which I'm already working on. So plenty of builds going on. Let me walk you through what I'm doing. All right, guys, so this build is not necessarily by choice. Throw that out for starters. If you follow my channel, you know that I had a beautiful black Land Rover LR3 that I did a build on. I had it lifted, it had rock sliders, it had a roof rack, you name it. It was really cool. It was my daily driver in addition to the 911. Unfortunately, about 2 weeks ago, we had a bunch of really nasty storms come through and had a tree come down from right in this location straight down on the car. Hit the sunroof, woke me up. By the time I got out of here, it had poured inside the car. Long story short, the car was totaled, so that was definitely a bummer, but it does give me an excuse to do a new build. So I've decided to stay in the family. I'm going to be doing a build on a slightly different car, but honestly a very similar car. So I'm doing a build on a 2006 Range Rover Sport Supercharged, which is what you see behind me here. That car is honestly, many people maybe don't know this, it's very much an LR3. Basically all Land Rover did is take the LR3, they shortened it, they sloped the back obviously, they redid the interior to give it a sportier look. This one has a 4.2 liter V8 with a supercharged engine pushing 400 horsepower, so a ton more power and a ton more sport in this. But essentially the off-road capabilities, a lot of the suspension dynamics, honestly a lot of the drivability is very similar to an LR3. So figured this would be a great base for a build. Want to do a little bit more of like a off-road Luxe build is kind of what I'm calling it. So, kind of part luxury, part off-road, maybe a little less raw than the LR3 was in terms of the build. And then in white. So I've always kind of wanted a white car, never owned one. So I'll be doing white. And I'm going to do what some people refer to as like a stormtrooper build. So white with lots of black accents. Matte black in this case, just to give it a little bit beefier off-road kind of concept, but black and white. It's got an ivory interior with light wood grain. So I think that's going to be a really, really clean looking spec. I'm super excited about it. So what I'm going to do in this episode is just give you a walk around. I'm going to talk about all the modifications I have planned for the car, that we can get a sense of kind of what's to come on this build. And then I'll have a bunch of videos coming out with how I do them. My experience in the LR3 tells me that doing modifications to these cars is super easy if your bar is Porsche or anything beyond that. So, the Porsche stuff, it's complex, it's precise, it's expensive, just to be honest. This stuff, there's a little bit more wiggle room. There's a hell of a lot more you can do DIY, and it is not nearly as expensive. So, love doing these builds, but without further ado, let me walk you around the car and tell you what we're going to do. By the way, for those who are interested, this is the branch that came down on the LR3. So, as you can see, this thing is pretty substantial. And basically came square down off the tree and right on top of the LR3. Okay, so like I said, 2006 Range Rover Sport Supercharged. Just quick overview of the car. Essentially, this Range Rover Supercharged comes with pretty much all the options that were available in that year. It's kind of built into the Supercharged version. So you got xenon headlights by Xenons, which was, in 2006, that was a big deal. These also are adaptive, so they move as you turn the vehicle, which was an option. If we move around here, it's got ivory interior with this nice light wood accent, so I think that's gonna really be a nice look. You got a center cooler that is got like a refrigeration option. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So again, for an 06, this thing came very well optioned. Nice roomy back seat, got TVs in the headrest, kind of all those goodies. This did come with some really nice Range Rover all-weather mats. The LR3 had those, and that's always a huge plus. The intent is to, make this, again, kind of Luxe off-road. So here's your Luxe, here's your off-road, right? So the idea is to kind of have a hybrid utility car that you don't mind getting dirty and kind of messed up and going on trips with, but at the same time, some luxury features. It is a Range Rover after all. It does have 20-inch wheels. So I'm actually going to be keeping these. I'm going to refinish these in a matte black. Very similar to what I did with the LR3. I do like this look though. These traditional Range Rover, Land Rover wheels, I feel like go really well with these cars. So a lot of people put much more modern wheels. People taking wheels off of like a 2019 that's cool. I mean, if that's your thing, but to me, the lines and the look of these cars, the LR3, the Range Rover Sport, I mean, it's classic. I mean, this is, to me, why you get a Range Rover or a Land Rover of this era, is that it's got that classic kind of British look, right? We're gonna put on some all-terrains, some General Grabber ATXs, so those go on actually tomorrow. But this one also came with the Brembo brakes, which is definitely nice. Gives you extra stopping power, given that you got 400 horsepower going. So, in terms of modifications, starting at the bottom, like I said, matte black wheels and then the General Grabbers. I have lifted the car already, 1.5 inches. So that's going to give us the clearance we need. This is not this is at normal height on the suspension, but this is obviously not the stock clearance at normal. So this is an 1.5 inch lift, and that is via the Johnson rod modification. There's a couple versions of these out. I had Johnson rods on the LR3. Loved them. They could not be more simple. I didn't even do a video on that because it is so straightforward, but basically there is a small plastic rod that connects a plastic lever to a post back in the suspension. I recommend you either jack the car up or take the wheel off, but once you do, you'll see it plain as day. You literally take off this kind of rubber and plastic version, you put the Johnson rod in its place, and basically what this does is that is the sensor for the height setting of the car. And so it just tricks the car's computer, the air suspension computer, into thinking the car is sitting at a different level than it is. The air suspension compensates and makes your vehicle sit 1.5 inches higher. They sell this in 2 inch, they sell it 2.5, and so on and so forth. My last one on the LR3, I did a 2.5 inch lift. This is kind of one of those things where I'm saying, look, if this is kind of more restrained, a little more like luxury, a little easier to get in and out, less raw, like off-road, like I'm gonna go crazy overlanding, this is kind of where I made those decisions. So 2.5 on the LR3, 1.5 here. 1.5 is what you really probably need based on my research for adequate clearance of the 275, 55, 20 tires I bought, but I didn't want to go any higher than that. And so that's where we're going to go with this. Moving around to the front, we are going to do a few things up here. So I'm going to keep the headlights for now. A number of people I've seen, you know, switch these out to the 2010 version, which is kind of the facelift version. That's certainly an option, but I do want to keep these because they're the bi-xenon and they're the adaptive that move when you turn the vehicle. Those are quite expensive, and so I'm going to keep these, but of course, we're definitely going to need to refinish these suckers, so I'll talk you through a video there. There are a couple options. There's one out by Sonax, which is super interesting. I'm a huge fan of their like Perfect Finish and some of the other stuff that I've used on my other cars. So I'm curious to know what their headlight restore kit does. It gets very good reviews, but definitely going to restore the headlights, get that plastic looking brand new. We are going to replace the washer covers. They're obviously very worn, but we'll replace those in a you know, either painted matte black or white. I have both options. I have both paints coming. I have one set of paint to match this in case there's any pieces I want to match to the white. This is, I think, Chawa white, or we'll go black. We'll see. But definitely going to need to restore those and fix those. We're going matte black on the badging across the front. That's going to really pop off that white body color. We are switching this grill out, and so I've ordered a 2010 Look grill. Most of the stuff, by the way, that I've gotten, it's all from Powerful UK. Amazing group of guys, amazing website. They make so many different aftermarket parts for these Range Rovers and Land Rovers. I got a lot of the Land Rover stuff there for the LR3. It is really reasonably priced. Like, I think this grill was like 80 bucks. Now, basically what they've done is they have fabricated a grill that has a 2010 look. So it's a little shorter, a little wider. You know, there's some nuances that kind of like a facelift appearance. And they have got it set up for an older version, 2006, like I have, to put on there. The other amazing thing about Powerful UK is that they have a YouTube video on pretty much every product they sell that walks you through precise step-by-step instructions on how to install. So it's perfect for the DIY person. Anyway, ordered that with a different look. We're going to get away from this three-piece, kind of a flat honeycomb look, much more of what you would have seen on like the HRE, the Stormer, you know, type of look in 2010. We got a new black and silver badge coming for that as well. If we move on to the side, we are going to replace the side vents. I've got a set that are matte black. They're the 2010 upgraded look, and they basically just have a single band here, single band across the center instead of the double, and it says Supercharged. Those are going to be in matte black. We're going to go with smoked side repeaters, get rid of the amber. We're going to change these. As much as I love chrome and love being able to see my face in there, not quite my style. This is from the previous owner. So we're going to change these out back to white to match the body color. Moving on around, all the trim you see here, this is all going to get hit with C4. It's a product from G-Technic. It's a trim restorer. It does wonders. I mean, it will make something this faded look pretty much brand new when it's done. So we're going to hit the mud flaps, all the lower trim, the door handles, the upper trim with the C4. It should give it a much darker look. Again, trying to go to that kind of black and white setup. I am going to get the front windows tinted, so these are kind of a nice tint. Going to go ahead and tint those to match. Again, kind of keeping with the black and white. Moving around to the back of the car, I'm going to switch to the 2010 lights. Those actually just arrived today. They're LED. The amber piece is non-existent, so they're the Euro look. The interior housing has more black that shows, which I think will be good for the build. So we're going to swap those tails out. Going to paint the tips matte black. You know, get rid of the chrome. Again, the idea is either something's matte black or it's white. Those are really the two options to get this spec right, in my opinion. We're going to change out the Sport, the Supercharged, the Range Rover badging, all that in a matte black. Have this on order as well to change out to black and silver. That is quite faded. And then on this bottom section here, I'm actually going to paint this out the body color, the white. A, it's going to make the badging pop more, and B, you know, I'm not a fan with how this kind of breaks up. I think a much cleaner, more modern look is to have all this basically from here to here white, with the exception of obviously the back piece there, and then the trim below is what's black. Got a new button coming, pretty easy swap. That one tends to fade quite easily. And last but not least, we're gonna have a roof rack. So I did not go with like a front runner full-blown rack on this car. Again, you know, between the LR3 and this one, I'm doing this one a little less rugged, a little more like luxury. I don't know what you want to call it, but I've got a basically sort of factory rail look, so two matte black rails that'll cross over top. That way I can still throw stuff from Home Depot, whatnot up there. You know, luggage if we need to put like a carrier, things like that. But, you know, didn't want to do like the full-blown front runner, you know, railed system. That looked great on the LR3. I just feel like on this car, you know, it's a little much. I mean, this car I think is going to look better with kind of more of that restrained look, but you know, some beefy tires, some black wheels, you know, kind of a good mix between the two. So that's the plan. That's the overview. You know, hopefully you kind of enjoyed that. If vintage Range Rovers, Land Rovers and whatnot are your thing, I do this kind of stuff on the channel as well as the Porsche stuff. So thanks a lot for tuning in, and you know, stay along for this build. I'm going to be keeping the 991 build going as well, so we're going to have two builds at the same time, which should be a lot of fun around here.